Let me tell you a little secret that no one shouts from the rooftops. Getting wealthy isn't hard. What's hard is staying patient long enough for it to happen. Now let me ask you, not as a guru but as a fellow traveler on this road, have you ever looked at your bank wallet at the end of the month and thought, where did it all go? Ever wondered how some people retire early, travel the world and still earn money while others, good people, smart people, work for decades and still live paycheck to paycheck? If you're nodding your head, don't feel bad. You're not alone. In fact, you're in the majority. But here's the crazy part. The answer isn't buried in some offshore account or locked away in a vault on Wall Street. It's hiding in plain sight. It's called ownership. Not ownership of time, not effort, not struggle. Ownership of assets, ownership of business, ownership of what pays you while you sleep. And this is where Warren Buffett enters the story, not as a billionaire with ivory tower advice, but as a boy who bought his first stock at age 11 and learned a painful, profitable lesson. The stock didn't make me rich. My mindset did. The lesson, wealth doesn't come from doing more. It comes from understanding more. It doesn't require genius. It requires rules. See, most people, bless them, think of the stock market as a wild roller coaster. They jump in when it's exciting. They jump out when it's scary. And then they wonder why their money's dizzy and directionless. But not Buffett. He saw the market not as a casino, but as a farm, a place to plant seeds, water them quietly, ignore the noise, and then one day wake up to a forest. Let me give you a simple story. Imagine two people. Both earn $60,000 a year. Both work hard. One spends their whole life trading time for money. The other learns to let their money trade time for them. At first, there's no difference. But 5 years have passed. But 5 years have passed. Then 10, and one is still working overtime. The other is living off dividends, sipping iced tea in Florida, and sending money to grandkids from a laptop. So you ask them, what did you do? And they smile and say, I started investing in the stock market 25 years ago and never stopped. That's not fiction. That's exactly what Warren Buffett did, and what anyone can do if they stop chasing and start building. But here's where it gets real. Most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they're impatient, because they want tomorrow's results with today's discipline. And that's a deal the universe never signs. But Buffett, he understood the ancient truth. You don't need to be extraordinary. You need to be consistent. So let me ask you again, what if you stopped trying to beat the market and started letting the market work for you? What if you replaced the need to know everything with a system that works even when you don't? What if your greatest financial edge wasn't speed, but stillness? Buffett built his fortune not on prediction but on principles, rules that guided every decision, every purchase, every hold. And lucky for us, he didn't keep them a secret. He shared them. And today you're about to hear them, in his voice, in his style, and in the way only a man who's lived it for 80+ years can deliver. These are not just rules of money, they are rules of life. Because in the end, money is not about greed, it's about freedom. Freedom to choose, freedom to rest, freedom to walk away. So lean in, because what you're about to hear might just be the most profitable story you've ever listened to. And it starts not with a bang, but with a whisper. Hey, if you're into real, down-to-earth money talks and mindset shifts that actually teach you something, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. I drop gems like this every single day to help you think bigger, plan smarter, and build a life that truly works. 5 years ago, I met a man in his mid-40s, healthy, content, and retired. Not semi-retired, fully retired. I asked him one question: how? He smiled and said, I started investing in the stock market 25 years ago and never stopped. That stuck with me. Not because it was extraordinary, but because it was simple. The truth is, most people underestimate the power of the stock market. Not because it's hidden, but because it's slow. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It always puzzles me how many Americans, smart, hard-working, 9-to-5 folks, go decades without owning a single share of a business. They know the labor market. They've mastered the job interview, the clock in, clock out, the promotions. But there's a catch with the labor market. You only get paid when you show up. Once your time stops, your income stops. But the beautiful thing about the stock market is that it doesn't care if you're asleep. It doesn't care if you're in Florida sipping iced tea. It just keeps working. When I was 11 years old, I bought my first stock, 3 shares of City Service. I paid $114 and panicked when it dipped a little. Sold it too early and made a tiny profit. If I had held on, I'd have made way more. But I learned a lesson. The money isn't in the market, it's in your mind, and your mind needs rules. There are 7 sacred rules of the stock market. Rule 1, never invest without a system. Too many people treat the market like a roulette wheel. One day it's Tesla, next it's crypto. They follow trends, Twitter threads, YouTube thumbnails. That's not investing, that's gambling with better lighting. I've always had a system. Charlie and I, we don't buy anything unless we understand it, believe in it, and know its long-term value. Let me give you an example. We bought Coca-Cola in 1988, and we still own it. Why? Because the world doesn't wake up and suddenly hate Coke. Your system should answer questions like, what's my goal, retirement income or long-term growth? What industries do I understand? What am I willing to hold through a storm? I know people who chase penny stocks. Sure, once in a while you'll hear, I turned $3,000 into $30,000. You'll never hear the 100 people who turned $30,000 into $3,000. Have a system. It protects you from the fear of missing out, hype and regret. A good system is like brushing your teeth. It's boring, consistent and essential. So, let me ask you something. What's that one habit you can start today to give your money structure? Have a thought on this carefully. Rule 2. Buy the business, not the buzz. Let me be very clear. If you can't explain what a company does in one sentence, don't invest in it. It owns you and not the other way around. I love Apple. I understand Apple. They build a product people adore. They build ecosystems people can't leave. That's a moat. I don't chase hot stocks. I chase predictable businesses. Businesses that sell toothpaste, insurance, soda, trains, real stuff. Stuff that still works even if the Wi-Fi goes down. Too many investors look at charts. I look at cheeseburgers. Why? Because when I invest in Dairy Queen or See's Candies, I'm thinking like a customer, and more importantly, like an owner. When you invest, don't just ask, is it going up? Ask, what do they sell? Who are the people running it? Can this survive 10 years from now? Remember, behind every stock is a company, and behind that company are real people, real products, and real performance. Learn that company like you'd learn a spouse. Now, think about the last stock you got excited about. Could you explain their business model to a 10-year-old in one sentence? If not, why did you trust it with your money? Begin retracing your steps. Rule 3. Never invest what you can't afford to lose. I once said, if you're playing poker and you don't know who the sucker is, it's you. Some folks take their rent money, their kids' tuition, or their emergency fund and throw it at a hot tip. That's not investing. That's emotional Russian roulette. If you lose sleep at night over a stock, it's not the stock's fault. It's your risk tolerance yelling at you. I live in the same house I bought in 1958. You know why? Because peace of mind is more important than a mansion. Invest what you can afford to lose, not what you need to sleep. When people ask me what the secret to long-term investing is, I tell them it starts here. Don't borrow money to invest. Don't invest your mortgage. Don't invest your emergency fund. And for heaven's sake, don't invest to impress people on the internet. Because you know what's truly impressive. Freedom, security, sleeping well at night. I've made billions, sure, but I've also said no, more times than I've said yes, because that's what good investors do. They wait, they plan, they protect their downside. So remember Rule 3. Never invest what you can't afford to lose. Not because you're afraid to lose, but because your life, your peace, is worth far more than a stock ticker. If your investment went to zero tomorrow, could you still sleep at night? Or would your blood pressure become a market index too? Your answer determines your risk tolerance. Type your answer in the comments section, and I will give you a heart. Rule 4. Time plus consistency beats timing the market. Let me tell you something that will save you decades of financial stress. Time and consistency will beat timing. Every single time. Wall Street loves predictions, but the truth is, nobody can time the market. Not me, not Charlie, not your cousin who made $50,000 on Dogecoin. Here's the magic formula. Dollar cost averaging plus long-term vision equals wealth. If you invest $100 every month in great companies, you will beat 99% of traders over 30 years. I bought stocks in the 70s when America felt like it was falling apart. I bought during recessions, crises, crashes. Why? Because I believed in the businesses and I believed in America. Never let a bad day in the market convince you to abandon a good decade. Have a thought on this statement and type it in the comments section, and I will give you a heart. Never let a bad day in the market convince you to abandon a good decade. Wealth isn't about lucky timing. It's about showing up, again and again, through the boring times. Let me put it this way. If you bought $1,000 worth of the S&P 500 every month for the last 20 years, regardless of what the headlines said, you'd be sitting on a very comfortable pile of wealth right now. But most people don't do that. They panic when the market drops. They get greedy when the market rises. They try to outsmart the system, and the system punishes them for it. I once said, the stock market is designed to transfer money from the active to the patient. Still true. It still hurts. There's this alluring little phrase floating around Wall Street. Buy low, sell high. Sounds brilliant, doesn't it? Except even the smartest folks I know, PhDs, hedge fund managers, Wall Street veterans, get it wrong more often than they care to admit. Trying to time the market is like trying to catch a soap bubble in a hurricane. You'll look silly, and you'll probably get soaked. I've never tried to time the market, and I've done just fine. What I do instead is simple. I buy wonderful companies at fair prices and hold them for as long as they remain wonderful. Are you more committed to long-term wealth, or do you find yourself checking your portfolio every time your phone buzzes? Rule 5. Own what you use. This one is personal. I drink 5 Cokes a day. You think I'm not going to own the company? If you bank somewhere, own the bank. If you shop at Costco, own Costco. If you love Apple, own Apple. It's not just sentimental, it's strategic. Because if I'm spending my money there, I want a share of their profits too. When you own what you use, you become a producer, not just a consumer. You start living on the right side of capitalism. Imagine if everyone who spent $200 a month on Starbucks stockpiled shares instead of lattes. They'd own the coffee farm by now. So let me say this clearly. Don't chase what's hot. Don't gamble what you can't afford. Don't try to outsmart the market. Own great businesses and let time do its thing. You don't need a PhD to win in the stock market. You need patience. You need discipline. And most of all, you need a system that reflects who you are and where you're going. After all, investing is simple. It's just not easy, because it needs patience. The market doesn't reward emotion. It rewards discipline. Type it in the comments section. The market doesn't reward emotion. It rewards discipline. Rule 6. The dollar cost averaging mindset. Let me tell you a story. I started buying Coca-Cola stock in the late 80s. At the time, people thought I was crazy. Warren, soda, that's your big play. But here's the deal. I wasn't looking at the price of Coke. I was looking at the value of the business. I understood it. I drank it. The brand was timeless. And most importantly, I planned to hold it for decades. So I didn't wait for the perfect price. I just kept buying. That's dollar cost averaging. 1 share today, 1 share next month. 1 share the month after that. The beautiful thing is, sometimes you buy high, sometimes you buy low, But over time your average price stabilizes, and if the business grows, so does your wealth. It's not alluring, but it works. Now let's talk about something interesting, at least on TikTok: day trading. Ah yes, the glamorous life of the guy, glued to 6 monitors, sipping Red Bull at 2 a.m., yelling "pump it" into his headset. Let me be blunt. Most day traders think they're in the fast lane, but they're really on a hamster wheel. They might have a great day, maybe even a great month, but show me their results in 5 years. Most of them won't be around. Why? Because they're not investing. They're gambling. They're trying to outwit a system that has already priced in thousands of variables, faster than they can even blink. Studies show that 90% of frequent traders underperform the market. That's not a statistic. That's a warning. Rule 7. Patience is the law of money. People often ask me, "Warren, what's the secret to beating the stock market?" And I tell them something that most don't want to hear. You don't beat the market by playing games. You beat it by staying in the game. Now let me tell you something I consider sacred. Patience is not just a virtue. It's the first law of money. You see, the stock market isn't just about charts and ratios. It's a test of character. Can you stay calm when others are panicking? Can you hold steady when the headlines scream disaster? Can you believe in your long-term plan when the short-term storms roll in? Most can't. But if you can really master patience, wealth becomes a matter of when, not if. Let's now talk about something even more difficult than buying, selling. Most people don't lose money because they bought the wrong thing. They lose because they sold the right thing too soon, or the wrong thing too late. They panic at the first sign of a downturn and sell a great company because the price dipped 10%, or they cling to a sinking ship, hoping it'll magically float again. I've made both mistakes, but I've learned. Let your winners run, cut your losers quickly. Look, if you own a business that's growing earnings, has great management, and a durable advantage, why sell it? Just because your neighbor's kid started trading crypto. Let the good horses run, sell the donkeys. Finally, here's my challenge for you. Don't just listen to this and nod your head. Do something with it. You don't need a perfect portfolio. You need a consistent plan. You don't need to buy what's trending. You need to buy what you understand. You don't need to move fast. You need to move right. Start small, start smart, but start. And if there's one thing I'll leave you with, it's this. You don't need to be rich to start investing, but you do need to start investing to get rich. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So pick your tree, water it, and let time do the rest. If this video made you think a little deeper or helped you see things in a new light, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps. And hey, don't just watch and disappear. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what stuck with you the most. And if you're into real conversations about money, mindset, and building something that actually lasts, make sure you subscribe. We've got way more where this came from. And if you're watching this decades from now, maybe even long after I'm gone, and you hear your name or your story reflected in this, remember, wealth isn't built in noise. It's built in silence, in discipline, in doing the right thing for a long time. You don't need to be smarter than the rest. You just need to be more disciplined than the rest. So take this wisdom, plant it deep, and let it grow. I'll see you at the finish lines.